All right, guys, unfortunately, it's kind of a nasty, rainy day, but we're gonna make the best out of it. We're gonna hop in the old Mac and get some equipment moved. All right, guys, got all the fluids checked, made sure all the important stuff under the hood's still connected and where it's supposed to be. So let's get this girl fired up and hit the road. All right, guys, I'm not gonna pretend like I do the most thorough pre-trip every time I get in this truck, but every time I do get in this truck, I make a point to walk all the way around it. There's always a couple things I'm looking for: shiny spots, rusty spots. Always checking tires, man. It don't take long to lose a $300 tire, and that's just if it don't go through somebody else's windshield or damage somebody else's vehicle. Lights, just a lot of the basic stuff. Make sure there's no loose rocks laying on the trailer from hauling all this equipment. It don't take much to have one of those left up there and bounce off. It's just like today, it's raining. I'm in a hurry. I'm not crawling underneath it. I'm not checking every last little detail. But believe it or not, this truck don't roll down the road without checking the basics. Captain Kleeman does a pretty good job of that as well. But I think we're good. Let's get out of the rain and roll. Well, guess we're getting ready to find out how good of a job we did on that old pre-trip.
How's it going, driver?
Good, sir. How are you?
Good. Hey, let's do just a real quick inspection here. Let's go up the road here. There's a parking lot. We'll get off the roadway and we'll go from there, okay?
Sounds good.
Thanks, sir.
All right, so what he has asked me to do, and I'm assuming this is probably why he's pulled me over where he did, is right here at this crossroad. There's a small little industrial park up here. That way we can get off the road and be a lot safer for him and me as well. So let's do as he asked and see what we got. All right, guys, we are here today with, I always call you Officer Hoover, but that's incorrect. Please, what's the official?
That's nice.
Does that work?
Yeah.
I can call
like
you worse, right?
Yeah. Well, I hope not.
I never have.
You never have, but it could be many things. But if you're wanting my official title, I'm Master Trooper Brent Hoover with the Indiana State Police Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Division.
Now, in full disclosure, me and Officer Hoover are friends. You've seen Officer Hoover, or Master Trooper Hoover, on the channel several times before, but today's a little different. He's not down here visiting Dirt Perfect. He is on duty and he is working, and he has found us on the side of the road. So in the beginning of this, what you don't know about, it was raining, so I did this real quick pre-trip.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to see how good a job I did.
How good of a job that was.
But a huge thanks to Officer Hoover for allowing us to, we're going to take this opportunity and kind of film what you as a driver should expect on a roadside stop, and maybe some things you can do to possibly help the outcome a little bit, help the stop go easier.
Yeah, exactly, because the goal is everybody's going to do it differently, but the stuff that we're asking for, the stuff we're looking at, is all going to be the same. Yeah.
So first off, explain, from what I know, there's different levels of inspection, correct? Level 1, 2, and 3?
Correct. In the North American Standard Inspection, there's 3 levels of inspection. You got your level 3, which is basically just a driver's license check. That's where, hey, you got one?
I got one.
All right.
I'm legal.
So check. Well, it's a little bit more than that, but the level 3 inspection encompasses, that's basically what we call the driver inspection.
Okay.
So the drivers get their driver's license looked at, medical card, the truck paperwork, stuff like that. More of a paperwork inspection.
I'm feeling pretty good about this stuff so far. Level 3, right?
Oh, yeah, but we're going to go a step higher. So we're going to go into level 2. Level 2, that's where we basically, what I like to call kind of the pre-trip inspection stop. Everything you should be looking at on a pre-trip inspection.
I did that for you. We're good.
Okay.
Yeah, you just signed on. We're good.
Hey, we'll double check that and we'll go from there. Level 1, that's where we can go all the way underneath, check the brakes, really going ins and outs of the vehicle. But what we're going to demonstrate today is the typical roadside level 2 inspection.
Okay, so would you say a level 2 roadside inspection is the most common?
Yes, that's the vast majority of inspections done out there are the level 2 inspections. Some states do more level 3s, some states do more level 1s. It just depends, but statistically nationwide, level 2 is your typical run-of-the-mill truck inspection.
Okay, so you heard Officer Hoover. We're going to basically walk through step by step what to expect on a level 2 roadside stop with DOT officer.
Yeah. All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate you pulling a lot. It makes it a lot safer for you and I. And the quicker we can get through this, quicker we can get you back on the road.
I like the sounds of that, sir.
All right, so what we're going to do today is just a quick level 2 truck inspection. First thing is, you've got the truck shut off. I appreciate that. That allows us to talk back and forth, and that way we're not shouting and yelling at each other. So, so the first thing I'm going to do is, if I get your driver's license. All right, so we've got your driver's license. No need for your medical card, because the way the CDL requirements, everything, you supply your medical card to us, and then we basically can run that on the computer system and get your information from there.
One quick thing to note there a little bit, and I just recently renewed my CDL physical. It's not a bad idea to check on that after you one up that.
Absolutely.
It may just be a clinical error, but that's something nobody ever checks on unless it's actually needed.
Exactly. And what's frustrating is you go to the doctor's office, wherever, you get that done and you assume it's been done, and then 6 months later we're stopping you and we're checking, and worst case it was never submitted. And then what can happen from there is then the state would suspend your driver's license and make you have to redo your
invalid.
CDL. So always double check your medical. So you've got your driver's license, ID, you're required to ID yourself at each and every time. So we're going to mark that off the list. Check. We've talked about the medical, so that's good. We would basically, at the conclusion of the physical walk around, we'd go back, check driver's license, check medical, all that. So what's required on the truck is we're going to look at the truck registration, insurance, annual information, and IFTA. So if you've got those forms handy.
Which, guys, I carry this in the truck at all times, and inside here I got all required information he's talking about. which is, I'm not going to show you this because it's got some personal stuff on it, but what I've done in the past, and let me know if this is all right, is I'll just hand you this folder.
Absolutely, because what typically happens is you've got it organized, you're in here, you probably know what, but a lot of times some of the drivers, they may not know what those forms look like, and it's just so much easier for us to take this, look at it, we can do a quick glance, verify what we need
you know exactly what you're actually looking for.
Exactly. And that just makes it so much easier. Plus, having it organized, because that's typically, those are the 4 types of paperwork we're going to be asking for. If you're loaded, a bill of lading, but having that all organized just makes everything so much quicker, and then it just leaves a good impression.
Now, I've used this system for years, and I'll be honest with you guys, my only flaw to this system is not once a year going through and taking the time to cleaning it out.
Cleaning it out.
And I have 7 or 8 years worth of paperwork in there, and nobody likes digging through all that paperwork for the one valid one you want. So I need to do a better job of that myself, is keeping that a little bit organized for you there.
Absolutely. And so now that we've got that, you're a local driver, we're not concerned about logbooks, anything like that. You keep time records at the office, all that good stuff. So basically at that point, we're done. Next thing I'd inquire is the location of the trailer registration, trailer annual. Do you put a decal on the trailer?
No, sir. I have it in.
You have it in here. So we would have covered that in the registration.
Yeah,
so basically,
and that is one thing I can show.
Oh, absolutely.
The annual is basically this.
Is that form there?
And this was 2/28/21, so it's good for a year. Correct?
Exactly. So that's good till 2/28 of 2022. You're not required to have a decal on the truck or trailer. Just have something to identify that, and make sure that form is filled out completely and correctly when you do that. So, it's something to do with like officer safety. You've remained seated in the truck, you remain seat belted in, having that paperwork, letting the officer know, hey, it's in the glove box, or it's over here, it's under here under the seat. That's fine wherever you keep it, but just inform the officer, let us know, because we all know officer safety stuff, everything going on. That's just one less thing to put both.
I think that's important to mention, because the normal citizen probably don't think like that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So we got to kind of put ourselves in your shoes a little bit of what you've encountered or may encounter, and just be respectful of that.
Exactly. And understand that we also understand that you've got a bazillion things going through your mind, and now all of a sudden, boom, you've been stopped by us, and you're nervous, this or that. So I have on times gone, hey, sir, slow down, just leave your hands, what's going on, verbalize, where stuff's at, or I even ask them, like, a scenario, hey, you got your driver's license, before you reach for it, where's that located? Some guys will have it in a lunchbox over there. Okay, just let me know where everything's at prior to reaching for it. We're not being rude, we're not,
just trying to justify the intentions of your movement.
Exactly. Perfect. So, all right. So what he's done is we've gone through the paperwork, verified the paperwork's good on the truck and trailer, verify the driver's license, medical information's good. So now to the fun stuff. The stuff that I really like is the mechanical, getting the hands dirty. So, so we're gonna test the real quick pre-trip this morning theory.
It was flawless, Hoover. It was flawless.
I'm sure it
except
was.
Except for those few rocks you grabbed. Did you see those kids on the road throwing those rocks on my trailer as I was coming up there?
No, I didn't.
We should go talk to them after this.
We should. So, all right. So first thing is, what I like to do is with the driver in the truck, I like to go ahead and have the driver turn the key in the on position. So what we're going to do with the whole key in the on position.
Okay, so I'm going to turn the key to the on position.
Not starting it, just turning it on. So what we're doing is we're letting basically the truck go through its internal diagnostics, going through everything, and then we're just going to kind of check all the gauges. So right now we got a brake air light and buzzers on. So tell you what, if you could go ahead and start the truck, we'll build that air up, get that
buzzer going off.
Yeah, we'll get that going off, and then we'll continue from there. All right, so with the key in the on position, what we're doing, we're just checking the overall gauges. We're checking the condition of lights, making sure both the air tank needles are operational and running. If one of those would be in op, say the orange one was down here to 0, or there'd be an issue with the gauge, that could be an out of service.
Now, for people that aren't truck people, that is a primary and secondary supply, and they will go separately from each other.
Exactly. But what we just want to make sure is that in this case, we started truck, built the air back up, we're holding stabilized, and then we'll show the pump down procedures here in just a minute. So next thing I do is I check the driver, you know, is the speedometer working?
We're not moving, Officer Hoover.
Exactly. That's why I rely on you to say, hey, do you have any issues with your speedometer?
Of course I don't.
Okay, well that's good, because if it was plus or minus 5, if it was more than that, then that's going to be a violation.
I will answer this question truthfully. In this truck, we are good.
In this truck, we're good. Okay, I will put that in the middle, the mental
notes.
So when the truck was running, all the other gauges were good, so that's working there. So, and what we'll do, we'll finish when we do the pump down here in a few minutes. We'll show you more there.
Now, if any of these gauges are off, is that an out of service or a violation?
All right, so if the speedometer is off, say I stopped you for speed, and I said, hey, sir, had you on radar at 65, and you said, well, my speedometer was saying 45. Well, then there's probably an issue with the speedometer. And I like to warn drivers, if you get new tires, if you resize tires, if you get any tires or your truck just gets some age, there's plenty of mile per hour apps you can download.
Yep.
Download one of those and verify, because it'll throw that off. You think you know, say the speed limit's 55 and you like set it to 57, 58, just stay a little above, but then you get stopped and it's more. That could be the tire difference. So just something to keep in mind there. If either one of the primary or secondary gauges do not work, like say one of these was on 0, or they were just real crazy, you tell it was broken or something wrong with it, that is an out of service.
Okay.
So, all right, so you got the key in the on position. Since we're here, we're gonna basically have you do your wipers and your washer fluid. So wipers are working, and then we are checking washer fluid. That is a requirement in the book. So that looks good. Go ahead and you can do either your city or your secondary. I like the city, it's a lot easier on the ears. If you got the big train horns, we prefer you just wait and not do those. Just do your little beep beep.
Now, you do not have to have an air horn. A city horn is sufficient, correct?
Just something.
Okay.
Something. So, you know, like I said, if you have no city horn, no air horn up here, and you got train horns, that's fine, but just be nice. Say, hey, I do have train horns. That's what. So
what you're trying to say is the officer may not be impressed with your train horn.
Yeah. And I have smacked a couple hands. I see them reach down for. I'm like, no. You know, let's do something a little quieter. So,
gotcha.
While we're also up in here, and we do really our visual checks, but I'm going to go to the front and we'll demonstrate everything to the front.
Do we want to go ahead and do the air brake procedures?
We will wait and do that at the end. Because what I typically do is I've made contact driver, let you know, hey, we're going to do a level 2 inspection.
Okay.
We real quick check the gauges, make sure there's nothing major going on, and then I like to go to the front, work my way all the way around the truck, and then conclude back with the driver.
Sounds like a plan.
So let's do that. So what we're going to do is when we come to the front, I like to start at the very top. So Mike, if you could go ahead and turn on all your lights, headlights, marker lights, please. So what we're doing is we're starting from the top, working our way down to the bumper. So I'm checking all 5 of the top marker lights, and they are good. It's a little bright out, but I can't see they are illuminated. So now I'm working my way down. I'm looking at the overall condition of the windshield. We've already checked the wipers, the washer fluid. I'm just doing a close-up visual, making sure there's no chips, no breaks, no cracks, anything in the windshield that would be of any issue. I'm not seeing anything unless it's hidden up in the corner, so that's looking good. Now we're working our way down. So we're working our way down. What are we finding next? Headlights. So we're going to do high beam, low beam. So there's low beam, there's high beam, looks good. I like to go left turn. So we're going to check out the left turn. Left turn's working. That's good. Right turn. Right turn's working. And then our 4-way flashers. Checking our 4-way flashers. 4-way flashers are looking good there. And then we're progressing down. He's got his license plate on the front where it's supposed to be, mounted, secured, proper, all that good stuff. Checking the condition of the bumper. When it comes to the bumper itself, just making sure it's mounted, secured properly, not loose, not hanging, not falling off. It's looking good. So some stuff they dive real far in, other stuff it's more basic. Is it broke, loose, cracked, that type stuff. So then we're coming up, we're checking the condition of the front tire. Of course, everybody knows front tire minimum tread depth 430 seconds. That's on a steer, 230 seconds on the rear. So we're checking our major tread grooves. Everything's really looking good there. We're doing the visual up and around. Tread's looking good across, not seeing any issues there. Now we're coming down to the rim. Checking the surface of the rim. Make sure there's no cracks, no breaks. If there'd be a crack going from a major hole or lug nut to lug nut hole, anything like that, that would be an out of service. So we're not seeing that. Looks good. That we won't call that loose dunnage, but we'll stick his nut cover back on there. But what we're checking is the lug nuts. Make sure they're all good in place. Nothing's broke, cracked, loose, or missing. Checking the outer hub here. Make sure not leaking, and we can see, we clear that away. We can see the fluid in there. Fluid is at a good level. So we're also looking in, and I'm looking for any dry powdery rust on any of the brake components, leaf springs, U-bolts, looking at the air lines. And then it is an option, and I'll probably go ahead and have Mike do it. If could, we'll raise the hood. Absolutely. And we'll point out where we're going to look at on there. Something I do like to do is with the engine running, I will have the driver rock the wheel. The reason I do that running under that additional is if there was anything that was loose in the steering components, we'd be able to see that. So what we're looking for there is any like non-rotational movement. So we're giving that a good up-down motion. Nothing. Everything's good and solid. And then with the truck running, we can also have him do that, and we'd be able to see that popping, do anything like that. So coming down, and a lot of people ask me, do I prefer dirty trucks, clean trucks? Honestly, I like trucks dirty because look, see how that dirt's in there? And it's kind of built up all around there. It's telling me nothing's moving. That's good and tight.
Now, one thing I'd like to take a second to point out here, Office Hoover, I've been keeping an eye on this for about a year now. And obviously that steering box is showing some signs of moisture, but it's not dripping.
Yes.
So I've always considered it a leak whenever I start seeing something on the ground. I do believe I'm getting very close to that point, but I'm not there yet. So what is the official take, or what's your take on it?
Okay, so the official take is when there's any fluid dripping, leaking from basically at the point, we are not going to write it up unless there's actual dripping on the ground. Okay. So we've been here a course of 30 minutes prepping, getting ready, and we can see there's nothing on the ground. So at the most, I'm just going to check, you know, see if there's any play, any movement, if it's loose because of any mounting bolt issue or leaking because of any excess movement. Nope, it's all good. So a little bit of seepage like that, that's going to be all right. Same thing with the engine oil. We're looking, you know, anything engine oil. My kind of favorite saying is every diesel motor is going to leak a little bit. You know, is there going to be anything?
Of a leak for generic terminologies is drips.
Drips on the ground.
So if you're not leaving spots on the ground, you're probably going to be all right.
Yeah, yeah. And fuel, that's something totally different. But when we get to the other side, closer to the fuel, we'll hit a little bit more there. But you know, checking everything over, checking, make sure. You know, a little bit of, you know, play there, but that's nothing that we're going to write home about, be concerned. Next thing is we're coming in, checking the condition of the airline, checking to make sure it's not been rubbing. You can see he's done a real good job of cutting that material back, because over time sometimes, or even up here, your hoods, these plastic pieces will rub, and then they'll rub those airlines.
Yeah, C8500 is really bad about that. rubbing the air hose. This truck here has not been that bad about it, but the other truck has been quite bad about it.
And that's something too, when the hood's up, you're really not thinking about that, but that's something I really look at when the hood's down, especially on some of the late model Pete's.
Yep.
They're pretty notorious for rubbing there. So just kind of checking that. So we're checking the brake chamber, working our way down. Bolts are good and tight. There's in place the main pin for the brake push, cotter pins in place, slack adjusters here. Everything's looking good, and he's got them pesky dust covers. Those things are anti-DOT friendly, but and good thing is
Officer Hoover, they're tip-top shape.
excellent. So one thing is that gap right there, I like to really check that and look just to make sure it's not getting built up with oil, grease, stuff like that. A little trick I'll show you is I take the edge of my slide rule, and you guys are probably like, oh my gosh, this camera angle. And I just kind of take that and I rub it up against the brake and see how that's coming out dry. It's not coming out oily, so that's a pretty good indication everything's going good in there. So working our way back, we're checking out the condition of leaf springs. You know how I love dry powdery rust. I'm really not seeing anything of concern, so everything's looking good there. So we've checked the wheel, checked the tire, rim, and worked our way all through there.
Is there ever a philosophy when you're like, man, the front of this truck's so great, there's no need to check the rest?
No, because it's kind of like that panning for gold. You don't want to go home with just a few fragments. You got to check the rest of the creek or metal detecting or something like that. So, so next thing is, when we're coming down the side, we like to look at the markings on the side of the truck. Does it got the company name, DOT number, US DOT number? Yep. Legible up to 50 feet away. And are we sporting our current IFTA sticker? So anybody, this is the International Fuel Tax Agreement. He's got the interstate version, meaning match up with his Porsche plates. He can run from Indiana to other states legally on the IFTA. Next thing we're looking at here is the battery box. So
perfectly secured.
Yeah. You just pre-loosened it so we could just kind of check in and look. So battery box, hey, there's a cover on it. It's not a piece of carpet or a wet piece of cardboard I've seen, so it's looking good there. We're working our way back. Any accessory equipment, boxes, hose reels, stuff like that. What we're doing is just kind of going through, making sure everything's properly mounted, secured, nothing's going to come off, fly off, that type. Looking up here on the back of the tractor, and what year is this truck, sir?
This is a 99.
99. So anything newer than a 97, and the reason I ask that is anything newer than a 97 has to have the reflective material back here on the mud flaps, which you can see is missing. So violation number 1 is the reflective material on the mud flaps, but I'm just impressed there are some mud flaps. But so, you know, reflective material on the mud flaps, and then the white on white points, which you can kind of see the reflector material on there. So we're going to give him that. So coming back up.
I do have one quick question.
Yes.
Indiana technically don't have a mud flap law, correct?
Correct.
So if I just take those mud flaps completely off, am I legal?
No, because the federal requirements of having the reflective material.
It's still, so that's kind of a catch.
Yeah, it's kind of the catch on that. So we're coming back, and now we get into the spaghetti bowl here. We're going to be checking the condition of the hoses. Oh, see, I looked up and I saw that and I got excited, but then I realized, oh, they're using that to hold the spring on, because if that was clamping the hoses together, that would be a violation.
That's also the hydraulic hoses. Do you have any concerns about hydraulic hoses?
No.
So
as long as they're not leaking or dripping onto the ground.
Yeah.
So we're coming back here. We're checking the condition of the air hoses. We're coming back. We're checking, and when it comes to airlines, we're checking for any nicks, chafing, hose reduction, anything in there that would basically kinking, anything out of the ordinary like that, any bulges, swells. So that hose is looking good. That hose is looking good, and you can see he's put down some protectant, so that's good. And then of course those are hydraulic hoses, and all we're concerned about there, no adverse leaking, because that leaking could come down onto the brakes. So then we're kind of looking in. We're looking at the condition of these brake lines here, making sure there's no rubbing, no chafing. Those are looking good. Going down to the brake chambers, coming around, going down, nothing there. Got that hard plastic tube that goes over to the center to a valve and comes back, and I'm not seeing any damage, anything there.
I think this is one area that a lot of people probably need to pay a little closer attention to, because that rear axle moves tremendously more than the front axles do. And this is where you tend to have a lot more airlines that are rubbing and chafing than what you would on the front or other areas. This truck here is not too bad. Again, the C8500 is spaghetti junction back here. It's almost impossible to keep them from rubbing. So every time I'm underneath that truck, I feel like I'm doing a zip tie or a little bracket.
Exactly.
And complete side note, you know, people who work on these trucks, reinstalling these brackets and these clamps is a big deal.
It's pretty important.
On there for a reason.
It's pretty important. And yeah, going through there, doing little stuff like this, taking an old piece of hose, wrapping around something, or you can even, like an example would be, say he had a hose that kept making, you can put protective material over just part of the hose. That is permissible. So then we're kind of looking in, we're checking out the drive shaft, we're checking the bolts here, the cover plates, and we're even giving it just a little bit of a wiggle, kind of just checking to make sure there's nothing loose. Everything's looking good. And you can see we can really look in, and real quick, he's got the parking brake set, but if you look down, the push travel there, it's real close. So that's probably within, if I had to guess, an inch or so. So that's telling me real quick that brake is in adjustment, because if that was sticking way out, then that's because your parking brake more or less is pushing it to the adjustment limit.
So on a level 1 inspection, you would, this is a 30-30 chamber, which I think it's allowed to have, was it 2 1/4?
2 inches.
2 inches, that's close. So basically this rod is allowed to travel 2 inches. If this rod travels out of here more than 2 inches, that basically puts that brake out of adjustment,
yes,
correct?
Out of adjustment.
So right now the spring in here is pushing that rod out. And it's hard to tell, but there's probably 3/4 to an inch of travel, which means we're pretty much right in the sweet spot of where we need to be. And that one over there looks pretty similar.
Yeah, and that's a good indication too of what, when you apply your foot brake, it's going to come out to about that same amount there.
Correct, because that, instead of the spring applying the pressure, now the air is applying the pressure, but it's actually pretty similar pressure.
Exactly, and these are way for you guys as just a lone driver to be able to look. Because a DOT, we're out here, we got you guys sitting up in the truck. So if I wanted to really get dirty and get real into it, what I could do is just chalk the wheels, have you release the brakes, and then have you apply your foot brake to get the measurement. But you as just a driver walking around, that's a cheap, easy way just to look in and say, you know what, that's pretty close, it looks tight, looking good. So then we're just kind of coming over, we're doing our quick visual glance. We're checking these bolts out here. These 4 bolts hold this whole brake assembly to the brake. And I also like to reach in and just rub my finger on the inside of that brake drum and see how it's coming out dry and powdery. That tells me that these brakes are working, because if they were oily, could mean an inner wheel seal. If they were like real rough and rusty, that'd tell me that the brake wasn't even making contact. So that's just a real quick way you can do that. So we're coming out here to the wheel end. Same thing, visual on the tires, checking the condition of the tires. Minimum tread depth back here is 230 seconds. We've got that.
We can just skip this tire.
Oh, those things there. So Mr. DP is concerned here, but basically what we're looking at is this aggressive tread over time is kind of starting to break away. But as long as these have not broken loose and gotten into any steel ply, we're still going to be good for a little bit.
That's good to know.
But I am proud of you for stopping and knowing, hey, those are starting to wear.
Yeah, me and Captain been keeping an eye on those for a while. Actually, this tire got into that cross member at one point is what happened. And these tires are getting pretty close to the end of their life, so we're just trying to kind of keep an eye on it and run them down.
So while we're in here, we're looking, giving the U-bolts overall, giving the springs an overall look. We can kind of look in, and let me see if so like we can also look in and check on the inside of those. And something just kind of checking out here is we're in here and we're just checking the condition of the lug nuts, and he's got these covers on, which are fine. But what's kind of caught my attention is that little bit of rust between here and there. I'm thinking, do I got him, guys? Let me get into my bag of...
Nope, that's a scratch.
Scratch?
Yeah, that's a scratch. He's working awful hard on it.
I don't know. I'm thinking we're about ready to say something that I don't get to hear too much at home. I may be right.
I'm still going with your nut. That's definitely a scratch.
I think it?
Yeah, that's a scratch.
What do you guys at home think? That's
a scratch.
I think that's a scratch in the paint.
Oh yeah, that's a scratch. Because it don't go, if it was a crack, it would have started off with, in all seriousness, if it was a crack, it would have started off the lug nut there.
But that's just something to keep in mind and look at. And
it definitely has
doesn't that, yeah.
It definitely has a look of one.
But he's exactly right, because looking, you know, we're not seeing anything there.
But that is what one would look like.
Exactly. And a lot of times in aluminum powder is like, well, on these steel wheels we're going to see flash rust, but on aluminum it's like a dull powder. And it's interesting.
The tread depth on the steer axle, which was 4/30 seconds. On the drive axle, that is 2/30 seconds. Is that correct?
That is correct. So this magical tool, so what we're looking at here is, so what we're going to go between these treads, and those are wear bars right there.
And that's it has to be that way in 2 major tread grooves, correct?
Yes. And so what we're talking tread grooves, which on a typical steer, tread groove here, tread groove there. So, you know, we would come here, we'd measure that out, and that's about 10-30 seconds. We'd come in here, about 10-30 seconds, looking good. So we always want to measure off of those wear bars, because it's not, you know, it's not fair to you guys if we come in here and look, I mean, to the wear bar 6/30 seconds, between the wear bar 10-30 seconds.
Now one thing that,
so that's your 4/30 seconds. So I'm glad that mathematically worked out. That was cool.
A 2/30 seconds tire is pretty close to bold.
Yes. I mean, that's giving you a lot,
way down there.
A lot of life. So you guys kind of see what Mike's worried about there. And basically these recaps.
Yeah.
So basically the recap, you know, it's going to take a big chunk of that to come off to where it's going to be an issue for us. But once that big chunk comes off, it's going to go quick. So what we're looking at back here is we're kind of doing the same thing. We're checking the hoses, checking the lights, checking those brake chambers for any unmanufactured holes, anything like that. You know, at this point, hey driver, left turn, right turn, 4 ways. Since Mike's out, we'll just, you know, we're looking at that and good to go there. Now we're looking at the reflective material. When it comes to reflective material, he's looking pretty good. He's got it down the sides here. So This being a newer trailer, it's required to have reflective material down the sides.
It's 1/3 of the length, isn't it?
If you pushed it all together, have to be over half the length of the trailer.
Okay, so basically if you added up every piece of tape I got, let's just say this was a 40-foot trailer, I'd have to have 20 feet of tape.
20 feet and 1 inch.
Okay.
Or 20 feet, you know. But yes, so then we're coming down, and we're looking at any accessory equipment, stuff he's got on the deck. I've had some people ask me about the binders down in there, and pretty well. Have you lost any in the 2 years you've had them?
I have lost some, but not because they jumped out of them holes.
So you know, really, if you've got a good stake pocket like that, we're gonna grant that. Now, where we're not gonna give it to you is if stuff is sitting here loose on the deck, or a pile of chains. Pretty well, he's done pretty good keeping the deck clean. But just remember, stuff like that can be considered loose dunnage. Can be. But overall, we won't get on Captain's case too much. It looks pretty good. Yeah, so all right. So now we're back here. We're at the trailer tires. And again, this is where we can start kind of speeding up a little bit, because same thing with the tires up front. We're looking for bare spots, cracks, bulges, breaks, anything odd on the tires. So we've come back here and we're doing just, again, the rear visual. Do we got four-way flashers are working? You know, at this point, driver, left turn, right turn, brake, checking the brake lights, checking the 3 ID lights. Those are required. So making sure those work. The reflective material on the back. And now we're just kind of repeating everything over.
Now, Officer Hoover, a question for you. If this was, we've kind of ventured off this a little bit, but if this was a true roadside stop, would I, the driver, still be sitting in the cab listening for your commands?
Yes, because you as the driver, you're required to demonstrate it. And that is kind of a topic of, you know, this or that, but and there's been that discussion on, well, I shouldn't have to do this or no. No, it's buried in the regulations. You as a driver, you're required to show that your vehicle's operational, safe, and all that. So you are required to do the lights.
So the point of that is don't be like me and come out here and be nosy and be right up on his shoulder. Just patiently wait in the cab, wait for his commands. Anything he asks you to do, don't be hitting the brake, don't be releasing the brakes, don't be doing anything you're not asked to do. Yeah. And let the officer walk around his truck, take a quick glance at everything, and then he will come back to you. He's determined to find something bad wrong with my truck.
Well, I don't get down here that often. So yeah, I gotta. So I'm
not gonna get overly confident, but I'm feeling a little better about this right now.
Oh, we're 2/3 the way around, so creeper hadn't come out yet, but no, that's in driver attitude's everything. And you guys, if you've been watching Mike and you've been watching us, if you've got a question, ask. You know, if it's something, you know, like when we get back up there, I know I always ask the driver, do you have any questions? And I encourage guys, hey, I noticed when you was at the back trailer, what were you looking for? Oh, well, I was looking at this, looking at that. Oh, okay. Ask questions, because we'd much rather work with a driver that's showing that he's trying to be knowledgeable, trying to do the right thing, than the ones that are just blowing us off.
Okay, sir, we have climbed back in the cab.
All right, so we're back up in the cab. So at this point in time, I'd be asking the driver, do you know where your fire extinguisher and triangles are at?
Fire extinguisher is properly mounted right there and in the green, sir. And
you guys heard it on camera. He just lied to an officer of the law. So we want to make sure.
My magnet must have failed.
my magnet, yeah. Miss your gravity. But I will give him this. It's in the green, so that's good.
And it's in the truck.
It is in the truck. So I'm sure Captain could give us a dissertation on fire extinguishers and all that good stuff. Basically, what I'm looking for is to make sure it's a 5 pound or more. Yep. It's the ABC. Yep. But yeah, technically, if it's in the cab or anywhere, it needs to be mounted and secured. Just the reason being, I've seen more of these in rollover crashes. These things are sitting and drivers are actually hitting the head by stuff like this. So when we're looking for that, that's just, you know, mounted and secured. We've got our emergency triangles. We got 3, 1, 2, 3. It's not a box full of sand or rocks, so that's a good thing. Oh, hopefully I didn't kill your mouse. So we've checked the fire extinguisher, we checked the triangles, those are looking good. So we'll go back and focus on the dash. So what we're going to do is have you turn before we turn on all the buzzers, what we're going to have you do is turn the key in the on position.
Still in the on position.
So yep, go ahead and put your foot on the brake, press and hold. So what this is demonstrating, it's now put air to all the service brakes. This is something typically I would not be up here in the cab, but I'd be outside the cab, because what I'm going to do is do a quick N2 while I'm back checking the brake lights and turn signals and stuff, and I have you applying the brake. I'm also listening, because if there's any air leaks in the service brake side, that's when I'm going to be able to hear them.
Now, this is one thing you can also do as a driver from the cab, because that gauge right there, I'm watching that gauge, and it may be falling a little bit, but it's not falling much, but that's also telling you whether or not you've got an air leak.
Exactly. So let off. So the next thing we'll have him do is go ahead and pump it down to at least 60, or whenever the light and the buzzer comes on.
I'm just going to lightly push the brake pedal.
Yep.
You guys see the gauge going down there.
All right, so the buzzer kicked on and the light kicked on. So for sound's sake, what I'll have you do is turn the key off, and then here's a little quiz for you. There we go. All right, so here's a quiz for you.
Yes, sir.
Which one would be a violation, the light out or the buzzer out?
The light, because the light. I'm going with light. I should go with buzzer, shouldn't I?
No,
it's
actually, it comes with a little riddle. You can drive deaf, but you can't drive blind.
Yeah, I was going with that, but I couldn't figure out how to politically put it.
Make it. Oh man, I see what you did there. But anyway, hey, so you can drive deaf, but you can't drive blind. So the violation would exist if the light does not
illuminate.
Work. Yeah. It would be out of service if neither one works. So if the light does not work and the buzzer does not work, it's an automatic out of service. So, and then at this point, if we had you chalked in, we would have the parking brakes released, but in that case we're not. And then
I think we could probably go ahead and demonstrate that. And basically what we're checking is to make sure these knobs are supposed to pop out below 30 PSI.
Yeah, and something that we do with the truck and trailer is we go back and have you actually unhook your red and your blue glad hands from the trailer. And then what that's going to do, that's going to force the air out on its own versus pump down. And then it's going to check those valves automatically. So when you hear us say tractor protection valve, and that's more of a level 1 type thing, but then we may have you do that. We've got you all chalked up or on level ground, have you go back, remove the blue and the red. That bleeds the system down, and then we're looking for those valves to pop out.
So basically, to explain that, guys, real quick, is air pressure holds the parking brake off, and then air pressure, whenever you push the pedal, it applies the brakes to make you stop. If the truck loses air, you have no air to stop, so it automatically sets the parking brakes for you.
Yes, and what that does, it pops that valve and it retains just enough air pressure. So if you're driving down the road at 55 miles an hour and the trailer decides to go fall off and rips those air lines off, well, now they're sitting there losing all your air. So what that's going to do in theory is it's going to trap enough air in the system so that you can safely bring this truck to a stop.
So if we push, hopefully we don't push those in there and release the brakes, and if I pump this down, once I get somewhere around 30 PSI, those should pop out. There goes one. And I don't have a gauge right there, but that's halfway between 60 and 0, so I'd say we're pretty close.
Yeah. And the only time we would get worried is if you pumped it down to absolutely nothing left and those valves are still not popping. And what I've noticed is Roadside, and not picking on Mike here, but he works in excavation, dirt, grime in the truck. It's not one of these, show ponies in and out. But if you your truck's through a lot of dirt, over time those will gum up. So just every once in a while, do that. Force them to open or close on their own, because once in a while dirt will get in there. And I have seen where Roadside will test it, place it out of service. The guy goes out, fires his truck up, and since he's cycled it one time, he'll come and get us and say, hey, now it's working. And now they're popping on their own because they've just worked that little bit of...
Yeah, it's something that don't get used very often, so every once in a while you just need to do a system check on it.
Exactly. So, and is that necessarily an every morning type thing? No. But, once a week, pump it down, or you're getting ready to unhook your trailer, maybe just chalk the truck up and
do a quick little test run.
Do a quick test. So, all right. So we've pretty well demonstrated the level 2 truck roadside inspection. We've checked the driver, checked the truck paperwork. We've done the walk around of the truck, and we've basically, only thing short of a level 1 is actually going underneath the truck, checking the brakes, and we'll have to do that on another video sometime.
That sounds like a great opportunity. I say we hop back out and we'll do a quick recap of everything we did.
Sounds great.
All right, guys, huge thanks to Officer Hoover for taking the time to do this, but that would be considered a full level 2 inspection, correct?
That's correct.
And that covers all the major points. Brake adjustments and a few other things would be in the level 1. Like he said, we may cover that in an upcoming video. So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of an insight as a driver what to expect when you're stopped roadside, but more importantly, maybe it gives you an idea what to check on your pre-trip before you actually head out on the road, because I think everybody's ultimate goal is to have safe travels.
Exactly, and that's something that we really press upon, that a lot of folks think we're just out here writing tickets, revenue, and that's totally opposite. We want to make sure you're getting home too. Our families travel the same stretch of road.
That's one comment that probably really burns my butt a little bit is I bet you wouldn't be doing that if your family went up and down the road. Well, guess what? My family does go up and down the road with this truck, and so does a lot of other people's families I know go up and down the road with the truck. And I think you know me well enough. If it's a major safety issue or a safety violation, that truck does not move.
Yeah.
It sits there and gets taken care of. So, the most important question out of all this: do I get to drive it home or do I got to tow it home?
You get to drive it. I think we found the 2 violations we found was the reflective material on the mud flat brackets, and then the improper unsecured fire extinguisher. But in reality, guys, for what Mike does, I am real proud of the fact that he does it. When it comes to something serious, he's under there. We may not hear about it for a couple months, but it's getting done. And no, in a serious note, when it comes to these roadside inspections, just remember, we've got a job to do. You got a job to do. We're not picking on you. If you've got questions, feel free to ask. You may encounter that inspector, kind of like me, that's willing to answer those questions, willing to point things out. And I know, hey, if we got a good safe location like this and the driver's got questions, hey, can I do this? Can I pick your brain on this? Absolutely. The more information we can get out there, the better. So,
and that's exactly how you and I became such good friends, as I did start picking your brain.
Yeah.
Real quick in closing, a couple things here. If people do have questions, I will link your Facebook page down below. I never get the name of it right. Indiana Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Division.
Close.
Close.
On
Facebook.
If you go to Facebook, Indiana State Police Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Division, you send a message, it comes straight to my phone all hours of the night. So send those questions. We'll get them answered the best we can. And
I just want to say a huge thanks to Officer Hoover. He does not have to take the time to do this, to stop and educate us, educate me personally, educate you guys on YouTube and Facebook. So I personally thank you. We've known each other for probably 15 years now. You've been a huge help for me through these 15 years. I'm just glad I'm able to share you with the rest of the world, because you're a wealth of knowledge and a great officer, and we do appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Wish we had more of them out there like you, sir.
Well, it's getting tougher and tougher, but no, again, guys, you see us joking around a little bit, but this is a serious thing. We both do take it very seriously, but like I said, it's getting out there, pre-tripping your truck, taking the time, looking things over. And then if you don't know, call somebody, contact somebody, send me a message. Like I said, if you see something on your truck, take a picture, send it my way. I'd be more than I know you've done it a few times.
I have.
And there's even times, I'll screenshot something off the YouTube and be like, hey, what was this? So, but no.
Always get my YouTube report card.
Exactly. So. And now you've been just dodging, that. Look, we're going to load this piece of equipment. Oh,
you told me the other day, you said you're getting a lot better at your load securement. I said, no, sir, I'm getting much better at editing.
Yeah, not getting to see it.
All right, in all seriousness, guys, hope you enjoyed. Hope you maybe took something away from this. Thanks again for your time. You're down here on business this time, not visiting, so I appreciate you taking the time to stop by and talk with us. Got any questions, you can get a hold of either one of us. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.
Thanks.